Hey there, friends. Quick little refresher course. Who are the entities that I talk about all the time who lie to us on a regular basis, not because they don't know any better, but because they're trying to forcefully change the narrative and change the whole scope of what people are thinking and move them in a certain direction, right? State-run media, of course, politicians, and we've got some new ones over the last few years that have really contributed to the lying. The FBI, more notably DOJ, federal government at that level. The executive branch is pushing the lies down onto these same bureaucratic branches, unelected bureaucratic branches. Some updates came out. They might shock you regarding crime. First, guys, I want to show you something pretty cool. You probably recognize the front portion of this rifle by CMMG. It's the Descent. It's got the forward charging handle. Have you seen this? How cool is that? Essentially, it's a Descent AR front with a, let's just call it a Remington 870 Magpul tactical buttstock on the back side of it. This is the profile of gun that I grew up with. I didn't grow up with AR-15s. I probably didn't have my first AR-15 until probably the middle 90s before I bought my first AR-15. I had shot them, obviously, but had never purchased one. This is really cool because I feel like I'm at home with these old school controls or layout, if you will, of the BR4 by CMMG. I really encourage you to check this out. Of course, I have a Gideon optic on it. Also, this thing is my new favorite. Look for a review on this very, very soon. If you're interested in something like this, they got a website. I can't point you to it, and I'm not going to point you to it. And I heard that if you use a code that I have a t-shirt that says FTATF on it, you will actually meet some kind of a discount. But I'm not sending you there. I'm just telling you that it does, in fact, exist. Check them out. The BR4 by CMMG. This thing is sweet, and again, it's my new favorite. Most of us here in the gun community are very familiar with John Lott. John Lott with Real Clear Investigations. He's a statistician that does some really good work regarding gun crime, crime in general, things of that nature that are going to break down numbers and tell the actual truth. In so many cases, you can look at the raw numbers and the data that's out there without letting somebody else manipulate it, and it will tell the story of what's going on without somebody having to narrate it and put their own spin. John does a fabulous job of that. He put an article out called Stealth Edit. FBI quietly revises violent crime stats. Look at the date, October 16th, 2024. Here's a news report where John explains it.
Every year I download the data from the FBI when they put it out. And so I had the file from the previous year, and I had the file that they just put out in September. And it was pretty easy to see that things had changed, for 2022 and 2021 in particular. They had some changes for a few of the previous years, but they were very small. The changes for 2021 and 2022 were very large. I'd looked through the press release that the FBI put out. There was no mention of them having changed the data for earlier years, and surely no mention of the large change that had occurred. I looked through the Uniform Crime Report summary report that the FBI puts out, and there was no mention of the size of the change. There's one footnote there that vaguely mentions that they had updated the data for 2022. No mention about updating it for 2021 or any other time. And no mention of the change, how large of a change it was. It was just this one vague footnote there. So it's pretty shocking to me. Just to give people an idea of the size of the change, when the 2022 data came out in September 2023, they initially reported that violent crime had fallen by 2.1% in 2022. The new data, and that's the final data supposedly for 2022. The revision of that final data that came out last month now claims that rather than the 2.1% drop, that there was actually a 4.5% increase in violent crime that occurred in 2022. That's a 6.6 percentage point change there. That's from a drop to an increase. And the bizarre thing to me is for a year, after the 2020-22 data was put out, we were having headlines and news articles after news articles saying violent crime is falling. People mistakenly or erroneously believe that it's increasing. And, and they were relying on this data, but you don't see any corrections in the news saying, oops, the FBI data that we relied on was wrong, that rather than a drop, there was actually an increase that had occurred. I think, the headlines in the newspapers and articles has been violent crimes falling. People are wrong to think that it's increasing. And I think that people are right. And, it's not just violent crime. I mean, people go in many cities in this country, from Los Angeles to Chicago to DC to New York, and you go into a CVS or a Walgreens and everything or virtually everything's behind plexiglass. And if you want to go and buy something, you have to have a clerk come over, unlock the plexiglass there, and stand next to you while you go and read the ingredients. It's not a particularly nice way to go shopping. It's extremely expensive for the stores to go and do that. And people know that wasn't the case a few years ago. But it's not, so they see property crime must have increased dramatically, or these stores wouldn't be engaged in all these very costly activities to try to stop crime that's occurring. But it's not just property crime. Violent crime itself has increased. And there are lots of things that have gone on that even affect the reporting numbers that the FBI has. So, if you call up 911 in many parts of this country, you'll be asked, is the criminal there right now still committing the crime? And if you say no, they'll say, okay, well, you can come down to the police station and wait in line and fill out a police report. People know that wasn't true a few years ago. If you called up and reported a crime, they'd send out a police car to go and take the police report that's there. You make it more costly, more time consuming for people to go and report crimes, particularly given that the success rate in solving crimes has gone down. And you're going to have some people who previously would have reported crimes to the police who are going to say, it's just not worth it for me to go and do that.
Now you might be thinking, that can't be. Because the Kamala Harris campaign, and right before that, before Joe Biden was ousted and replaced against his will, Joe Biden was claiming that crime was down. They've been running coast to coast across this entire country telling you how good of a job they've done with crime. And it's so weird because everybody's sitting back there scratching their head going, man, that just doesn't seem right. Kind of like the whole grocery thing where they say, oh, the groceries are, the price of groceries are good. You're imagining this, this inflation. It's not really happening. And you're like, I literally just got back from the store, so I know better. Same thing with this. We're sitting back scratching our heads going, the numbers you just put out in 2023, that's not reflective of what we're seeing because we actually live in these communities. These people who are reporting this, make no mistake, they're the elite. They don't live in our neighborhoods. Many of these articles were out there claiming, oh, look how great the crime is. And all these are left-leaning media outlets, all state-run. I'm going to play you this because this is kind of interesting where the FBI talks about this. Research by 13,000 law enforcement agencies that police 82% of the U.S. population provided the FBI with the data. It showed a 13% decline in murder in 2023 from 2022, 6% decline in reported violent crime, and 4% decrease in reported crime. Experts say the resumption of anti-crime resources that stopped during the COVID pandemic is a factor in the dwindling figures. They go on to talk about how staffing was an issue during COVID that caused a spike in crime, but acted like they got a handle on it once things kind of got back to normal. Biden said the figures are good news for the American people, adding that keeping communities safe is my priority. Not so fast, old fart. A Gallup poll reported by NBC News found that 77% of Americans, however, believe that crime rates are worsening despite these FBI findings. This was funny to me. Jeff Asher, a former CIA analyst, said the perception doesn't match the actuality in a lot of places because people are bad at perceiving risk. This guy is saying that even though you are experiencing higher crime, because remember, there are victims in crimes. This is not something that happens out the tree falling in the woods, right? There are victims associated with these higher crime stats. So somebody's being affected. But Jeff Asher here, a former CIA analyst, says that we're perceiving this wrong because we are bad at perceiving risk. So we, in our minds, have concocted this. We're overestimating the crime that we're witnessing. Make that make sense. These actual crime statistics that John Law was talking about show that they originally missed 1,699 murders in 2022. They missed that. That was a clerical error. How do you miss 1,700 murders in a 365-day period? Think about that. That's like 5 of them a day that they just missed. We happen to not catch those. And if you look, these are the numbers right here, the updated numbers that show the true increase, not decrease, like John mentioned. It's a 6% swing from what they say was a 2% decrease to a 4% actual increase. This is the actual data right here. So instead of these bar charts going down and the graph looking like we have negative increase, it shows across the board positive increases. Every single measurable crime statistic increased, not by a little, by a lot. The one that increased the least is the worst one, which is murder and non-negligent manslaughter. 1,700. That's the best number. Look at property crime. They did not record 198,000 property crimes. That, you cannot tell me, is a coincidence or an oversight. There's no way. Now, we can tie a lot of this not only to the no bail, but the open border. See, there's a lot of things that these numbers are going to point directly to. By them saying that the crime numbers went down, that's their way of telling you, see, the open border really isn't that bad. It's not really affecting crime. In fact, our crime has gone down. That's how they paint that picture, that false narrative, that false picture, that the open border is harmless. But this graph clearly shows that the open border certainly is contributing. It has to, because whenever you have an increase of 200,000 of property crime, remember, a lot of people don't even report property crimes, but when you have that kind of an increase, clearly the border is certainly contributing to it. It's certainly not making, as they try to imply, that these people are all coming in, they're simply workers, and they don't contribute at all to crime. That's bull crap. I'm not real happy with the violent crime numbers at 80,000. I'm certainly not happy with 5,000 more rapes between 2021 and 2022 happening. 5,000 more people, mostly women, talk about the war on women, Democrats, 5,000 more rapes from one year to the other. Guys, that is ridiculous. In a year with 365 days in it, we have 5,000 more rapes from the previous year. Remember, the previous year did not start at 0 rapes. There was already a high number of rapes in 2021, but we added 5,000 to that number in 2022. These people lie. They lie. The FBI put those numbers out, not with an asterisk saying, hey, we're going to update these in the future. Down the road, look for an update from us and we'll get some actual numbers. No, they put these numbers as the final numbers. These were released as the final numbers of 2022. And this was almost a year later, right? This was in September or October of 2023 when they put this report out on 2022. So they had 10 months to work on the data and get it right. And they still missed it by that much. This was purposeful. Remember, they've done this before, right? U.S. added 818,000 fewer jobs than previously thought from March 2023 to March 2024. Again, guys, they're purposely lying. They're holding data from the people, the statisticians, and those that are putting this information together. They're withholding that information so that politically they can get these headlines like adding so many jobs out there and the crime rate falling. Because look, let's face it, we've talked about this before. A huge percentage of the American public are stupid. They're brain dead. They're brainwashed. These people can tell you who came in third place on the 5th season of American Idol, but they can't tell you anything about the Constitution. They don't know about laws. So when you put something out there like this that seems like great, wonderful news, they wrap their head around it and they're like, yay, look what we did. The government added all these jobs. The Biden administration added all these jobs. Oh, and look, the Biden administration must be pretty tough on crime because the numbers went down. All a lie. These are all purposely withheld. We talk about how both parties are involved in this. I hear no members of Congress talking about this. Nobody from the Republican Party is saying, wait a minute. I mean, they get their little sound bites on the news agencies, but they don't try to hold anybody to account. When these jobs reports were proven to be lies, nobody called them in to have a committee meeting or anything like that. These crime numbers, which definitely can't help, the general public feels like we're in an unsafe position. But if you can convince them that they are safer, they may vote for the party that's in power right now, thinking that, well, you know, the numbers show this. So then they release these new numbers quietly without a press release. Look, when these original numbers came out last year, it was via a press release. There was no press release to accompany these updated numbers that show this massive increase in the numbers that they left out for 2022. Another thing, with these updated numbers, remember how I talk about the state-run media all the time? These updated numbers have come out a few days ago. Look at, when you Google, look at who's reporting on this. Couple of kind of conservative organizations. You notice what's missing? This is the first page in Google. First page. No CNNs, no MSNBCs, no NBCs, no CBS, no ABC, no CNN. None of your leading, not that they're popular, but on their side they are, none of the leading left-leaning publications are reporting about this. It's just independent media, or you might see Fox News sprinkled in there every now and then. Nobody else is talking about this. This is huge. The reason why is because this can and should impact the election, because a lie has been floated long enough where too many Americans will believe this and think now that these headlines that we're seeing are erroneous because, oh no, they heard the actual numbers a year ago, so this can't be right. Speaking of press releases, the FBI, coincidentally, has come out with their numbers for 2023. Press release from the FBI's website, September 23rd, 2024. FBI releases 2023 crime in the nation statistics. Look at this. The FBI crime statistics estimates, based on reported data for 2023, show that national violent crime decreased an estimated 3% in 2023 compared to 2022. So remember, 2022 was the updated numbers that we just got. So are they comparing the 2023 numbers to the original 2022 numbers or the updated numbers? And with that being said, can we believe the 2023 numbers? Because the 2022 numbers were wrong. They're stating in this press release, again from only a few days ago, murder and non-negligent manslaughter recorded a 2023 estimated nationwide decrease of 11.6% compared to the previous year. Rate, they're saying, was down 9.4%. Aggravated assault down 2.8%, and robbery showed an estimated decrease of 0.3% nationally. So they are telling us in the same week that they corrected their original lie quietly behind closed doors, now they're coming out to try to cover that up with the new statistics of 2023, and it basically says the exact same thing that they said last year when they lied about it. I don't believe anything the FBI puts out anymore. The FBI have proven themselves to be colossal liars, and until there is a change in the White House and a clean freaking house in the FBI, I don't mean put somebody else's picture on the wall whenever somebody else is elected. I'm talking about you walk in there and you bring a bunch of cardboard boxes and you tell everybody, box your crap up. You're out of here. They need to clean house, or this will continue.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
It's over.